Hello and welcome to Thank You to Creations podcast. I'm your host, Elle. And guys, welcome back. Last week we had quite the episode. I told you guys about my near death experience, told you how scary that was. And I hope you listened to it. If you haven't yet, it is on all of our platforms. So please get on there, listen to it. Let me know your thoughts. Send me a PM. Tell me I'm crazy. I don't know. Just tell me something, tell me you listened to it. I did want to point out that we also shared this in our social media that we reached over 1,000 listens on Castbox, and we only have about 63 episodes, I believe. So I feel like that's a big win for us. Thank you to everyone who listens to us every other week. I know our schedules have been a little bit off lately. It used to be every 2 weeks, it went to every 3 weeks, and now it's about every month. But please excuse me, I do have a full-time job that pays the bills. So I need to be there as well. However, if you are joining us for the first time, welcome. If you are a returning listener, welcome back, guys. I have such an amazing guest today. I'm so excited. I told you guys I had some amazing people that I wanted to share with you all. And today I have one of them here with me, Ahyoka. So quick story of how we met. We were on Facebook, and I happened to put up one of my favorite necklaces that I brought from Mexico on my last trip. I was in Tulum about a year and a half ago, and I saw the pyramids. If you guys follow me on social media, you'll see all my pictures on there. And on our way out, this one piece, obsidian and jade, caught my eye, and I saw it. I even kept walking, and I came back to it, and I said, "Oh, I need that piece." And it's just crazy because when the person tried to sell it to me, they were having issues with their card machine. We didn't have enough cash, like all these little things that are happening. And the more they were like, "Oh, I can't sell it to you," the more I wanted that piece. And I was like, "I need that piece. I need it in my shop. I don't know why I want it." And I even got stopped. So I got the piece. I was actually in Virginia at the time. And in Virginia, customs stopped me because of the necklace. Yeah, it was like, wow, this has a lot of energy to it. And so they stopped me. They literally lifted it up and they were like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "It's jade and obsidian." They're like, "Oh, okay. So you import things?" And I'm like, "Oh, I mean, like, it's just a gift for myself." I went on vacation, just a gift for myself, because you just never want to they make me nervous anyway. So then they're like, "Okay." So they go through the rest of my stuff and they're like, "Everything looks good. Put everything back." And I'm like, "Wow, this piece really, really heavy on the energy." And I've had it for a while. Many people wanted to buy it, and then eventually just the deal would never go through. So I figured at some point, I said to myself, I think I'm supposed to keep it, even though I'm not a big, wearer of like big items. I usually do like little dainty ones. And then finally, I had Ahyoka reach out to me and say, "Hey, I saw your piece." And I said, "Awesome." But we were not in the same city, guys. I don't know how Facebook did that. But she is not in Killeen. She's in San Antonio. And I was just like, oh no, what? How did that happen? I fixed my location, and then after that, we started chatting. And I said, wow, this is someone that I want to share with everyone that listens to me. Amazing, just impressive, impressive. So with no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and let Ahyoka introduce herself to you all, and then we will take it from there.
Hello, everyone. My name's Ahyoka. Most people know me as Ahyoka, or by my government name, but I am a former member of the Autonomous Brown Berets, the Yanawana. Yanawana is what we call my ancestral homeland when colonized language is San Antonio. I am Colhuitecan and Huachichil, which is part of, the Aztec Empire, and my father is Black. Where do I even begin? These practices started with me it was like I didn't even have a choice. It started with herbs. I was raised by my sister's dad also because my father walked out and he started teaching me, I guess like occult practices because we're actually royalty
Wow.
from Ireland. Literally the last like the pagan king of Ireland. That is who raised me.
Chills. I just got chills. Like,
Right. And so that started there, and he started teaching me, and he was like, there's going to come a time you need to learn how to do this. You need to learn how to do this. And I'm like, yes, father. Like, like little dutiful child. So here I am, like playing with herbs and learning how to like ground myself and protect myself. And it just grew from there. And eventually it was just like, as I'm, growing up and stuff like that, I keep telling my mom I'm playing with herbs and stuff like that, playing like mad scientist, if you will. And like I'm gathering my herbs, throwing them in the bowl, doing, mixing them, putting water, mud, and stuff like that. And my mom's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm making medicine. Why can't we go back to the old ways of this?" And my mother would always just be like flabbergasted and be like, "Where did you get this? Where did you get this?" And it's just been a calling, and so that's something I've been carrying with me for a very long time, even right now to today, even. But more now, like it's more decolonial. It's more like based in my ancestral practices and stuff like that, and rooted in African roots and like my indigenous roots and stuff like that. And these days, I am a perpetual student of herbalism.
Oh, amazing. Like it's really refreshing to know that those traditions are still living, among many individuals. And I say that because as someone who unfortunately this year has fallen ill so many times, the amount of times a doctor of medicine of, the US, unfortunately, have put me on like antibiotics without knowing the reason of my ailment. They'll just throw them at you. Like, I was on antibiotics like back and forth for like 4 months, 5 months straight, did no good to me because they didn't know what was wrong. And I went ahead and opened that conversation with many other individuals around me, and the same exact dialect was going on. They would go to the doctor, they would tell them what was wrong. They didn't know what was wrong. And instead of really trying to research their bodies and see what, was going on, here, take this antibiotic, here, take that. And so I'm now learning on TikTok because TikTok is just free knowledge, guys, man, but there's so many things, teas or just changing your diet, double checking those labels on the food and simple things like that, have helped me at least. So it is so refreshing to hear that there are individuals out there that are practicing that alternative medicine. Um, Growing up, like my parents were very big on like Chinese medicine. So we would always go to Chinatown and they would talk to the little lady behind the counter and they'll tell them, this is what's hurting me. And she'll pull out all these things and, tell them what to take and how to take it. So I'm so impressed by that. Would you say, because you did say you have a shop currently, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
so we're definitely going to share all that as well in our description of this video, so you all can follow and learn more, about this as well. Would you say specifically with people that you work with, is there something that they're asking more about, especially like post COVID and things like that?
Yes, yes. So, um, again, like we work on the spiritual, we work on the physical and stuff like that. I've noticed since the COVID has arisen, like I'm dealing with a lot more anxiety. I'm dealing with a lot more stress. A lot of people not knowing how to manage their emotions properly. So like we're offering again the like limpias. I sell the Florida water. We call it agua tranquila. It's a calm water. It's blue. It's rooted in hoodoo ancestral practices, and that one seems to be one of our best things that help people struggling with those things. And it's great because when I had like my best friend just left, and he's been stressed out, and I saw, I was like, "Hey, dude, go use it." And every time I see him use it, like he'll go from stressed and just to see him change literally before my eyes, and be like, "Okay, I'm better. I got this." Da, 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 da. And it's actually even been good and that I have a funny story about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please share. Yeah, if you can.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, I make my own Florida water and I make my blue water, right? And I happened to buy some moccasins off of an elder, right, at Curandera. And they came from an elder in the Nahuatl practice, Maestro Wash, right? And he hand makes everything. He's very particular about how things are done in his ancestral practices, right? So she comes and she delivers these moccasins to me, and she's like, "We're talking." And, I'm like, "Mom," I call my elders mom or grandmother, depending on their age and proximity to me. I'm like, and she's like, "Yeah, sure." And so I presented her with my Florida water, and she was just so happy to have it. Like, I don't know about this one, because I was nervous. Like, it was a new product, but something I'd been working with for years, right? So she's like, "What's up with that one?" Right? And I was like, "Okay." I present this bottle with her and everything, and I tell her about it, and she's like, "I can't get in." And I was like, "Yeah, mom, it's it's supposed to like a vacuum, like eat up every negative thing that you're going through. And, you set the bottle in the sun to charge it. Um, and, it disperses it. And she's like, it won't let me in. And she's sitting on my floor in my living room, right? And I see her like struggling. So she's like, it looks like she's trying to open a door, but something's pushing her back. And I'm like, am I really seeing this shit in front of my eyes? And she's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I'm gonna try one more time, right? And next thing I know, it's like she opens this door and she goes forward and then she flies backward and she goes, Mija, what did you do? And I said, Mom, you didn't belong in there. It's supposed to eat negativity. You are not negativity. And she's just like, I'm not sure if I like that one. And actually,
Yeah, yeah.
she flew across my living room.
Oh yeah.
She
Oh yeah.
And so she's like, Mija, where's your Florida water? And I say, it's right here, Mom. And she goes and she spritches it. And, she touches her crown, takes it off her neck, and she sweeps herself. And she's like, much better. She was like, I've been doing this a very long time. She's like, I've been a danzante for a long time. I've been a curandera for a very long time. I come from this. She goes, I've never encountered anything like that before.
Powerful. Yeah, powerful. And it's something, I use Florida water as well. I've used it for quite a few years since I was even little. That's how actually I remember my mother like just dousing us in it before leaving. And it's something that I also included in like my shop when it was a little busier, I would say. It's kind of like slowed down, and it's something, that one day I may bring back up. But it was something I would recommend to my customers too, before they would wear my jewelry. It was one of custom made things. And I would tell them I myself would clean my hands before messing with any of the crystals. And then I would also recommend for them to spray it before they wore it. And of course, if something was to snap or break, which most people would be like, it wasn't made right or whatever, I would say, no, it served its purpose. Let it go wherever it was, leave the beads. No, it doesn't matter. Just we'll make you a new one, right? And now that's just so amazing, because it is true. Post COVID, a lot of people have dealt with the anxiety of having to go back to work, the anxiety of knowing that it's still out here. It's not like it's gone. Unfortunately, a lot of people didn't make it, out of, that time. They got really sick, and it's everywhere. You can get on TikTok, you can on TV, anything's causing that external, stress. I still use the Florida water before I leave my home. Like I will spray it, my hands, the back of my neck, my head, everywhere, on top of like cologne or whatever else I use, perfume. And like I said, I tell people all the time, even if it's just a placebo and you may not, think, it still gives you some calming effect. So at least see it that way. So yes, it sounds like your creation is far more powerful than anything I bought at CVS. Because it's the only things I can get it here. It's like CVS, or I think if I order on Amazon for like twice the price. But that's such a, a great story. And it's crazy, like, just because yeah, people are always like, oh, it's just it's make believe, it's in your head. But it's not if you believe and if you see it. Like it's not really make believe at that point, right? Oh,
Right.
thanks for sharing that. Yeah. So I know we talked about being the brown berets, and I looked it up. I was just the picture you sent me, and if I can share that with our listeners, that'd be amazing. It's such
Mm-hmm.
a powerful picture. It's just I immediately saw it, was like, wow, this is someone who knows exactly what they want, who knows what they believe in, and it's hard to come by people like that, I feel like. So
Mm-hmm.
the picture is super impressive. I was, and then you said you're writing a book about it, which I'm all for. Please do that. I love reading, but a story like yours is, oh man, wow, what a book it's going to be. Could you tell us a little bit about that? How did you get into the movement, and what did you learn while you were there?
Hmm. So again, this is something that's just like by default me, always like, no,
Mhm.
this is wrong. We can't let this happen and stuff like that. So like activism's pretty much been a part of me. I mean, I'm 36 years old. I grew up listening to like Rage Against the Machine and System of a Down. And one day I sat down and actually just listened to the lyrics and was like, what are they talking about? This and this and this. Da, 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 genocide, femicide, those still, those things are still going on. So it just kind of opened up a doorway, right when I was in middle school. And then so I kind of stuck with it. And, I did stuff with, I think, Drumbeat for Darfur for a little bit and promoting their stuff. And then, I got out of high school and I was like, no, I want to get more into activism and stuff like that. And I dated somebody who was a little crust punk guy, and he told me that there were names for things that I believed in. And he was like, no, that's feminism and that's anarchy and that's this and like da 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 da. And he's like, you know, caring about like the earth and stuff like that, like being an eco warrior. I was like, wow. And then, I'd been like with Food Not Bombs off and on, off and on. And unfortunately, I came down with like cancer, moved to Massachusetts, got that straightened up, came back home. And I was like, man, I need something to do with my time. Let me go back into Food Not Bombs. And I met an individual by the name Mapache, right? And they reminded me so much of me when I was their age. So we took to each other, like they would call me, hey sis. I'm like, hey baby, like that's my sibling. And so I'd be like, yo, you're into punk stuff, right? Like, check this out. Like, I know you don't like this because they go hard. Like, wow. And so like they would always be like, and he's like, hey sis, he told me one day. And I noticed he's wearing this like hat, right? And I'm like, the fuck is that, dude? Like, you okay? Like, what level of punk is this?
Yeah.
And Mapache tells me, hey sis, like, have you ever heard of the brown berets? And I was like, no. He's like, so check it. He goes, poorly explained. He goes, do you know who the Black Panthers are? Yeah. He goes, did you know around that time? He goes, there was a Chicano movement, this and this and this. And I was like, yeah, I know about the Chicano movement and everything. He goes, yeah. He goes, so like, he goes, there's a group called the Brown Berets that started out, and he tells me the history, and I'm like, let me check this out. Like, so I'm like skeptical because it's the movement, right? And so I'm checking these people out. I start coming around and everything, right? And I'm like, okay, well, my botches in here, like it's got to be a good group, and I vetted these people. I looked around and asked some of my trusted comrades and stuff like that, and they were like, oh yeah, they do good work, but there's some things like that could be worked on, and I'm like, those could always be improved upon, like, right? And then we get to when we're protesting the borders and stuff like that. You can actually look at Mapache's story. Um, we protested a detention center, right? To be honest, full disclosure and legal reasons, I wasn't actually on there, right? But I would just go and drop off food, and do support and stuff like that. Whatever we had left over from Food Not Bombs, we'd look around. Me and my partner would look around, see if there's anybody who needs food. Then we go to Camp Cicada and drop off the leftovers, or I'd be like, hey guys, like here's some morale, like I got your tacos. So I was like the mom and big sister of that group. And I remember telling Mapache, this is a horrifying story. I remember telling Mapache, like, bro, I have a really bad feeling. I don't want you to go. Right. And everybody was like, oh, don't tell them that. Don't tell them that. Like, you're squashing the movement, this, and this. And I said, no, I have a bad feeling. I have a very bad feeling. And I was like, do you have your documents in order? Do you have this in order? And he was like, yes, this is in order. And I was like, no, I want you to do it now. Do it now, please. I will sit with you. I'll help you fill out this papers, whatever. Right. And, Mapache, like, he's no longer going to Food Not Bombs because he's at Camp Cicada protesting and stuff like that. And, I get a phone call, a very frantic phone call saying that Mapache had been snatched. And what I mean by snatched was, they went off somewhere, I guess, to use the restroom, right? And, usually in movements like that, we encourage like a buddy system or something, right? So you're not off by yourself because you're slim pickings, right? I guess Mapache went off by themselves, and a van pulled up, grabbed them, and took them to another place that was too far from where they were protesting. And then they interrogated him, and then like decided that they were going to throw him in a detention center, and then moved him to another detention center, right, where he sat for couple months and stuff like that. His parents didn't have any idea, like nobody knew what was going on. We were just like trying to find them and like make sure that they had support and everything. And Mapache got deported. And what was used against them was just like song lyrics that they had posted on like social media or something like that. And that was used against them as an act of terrorism.
No. Yeah. Oh, good. How long has he been? He was deported to Mexico, or
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
Mapache was deported to Mexico to family he hadn't seen since he was 2. Yeah, and he's banned in
mhm.
America. It's
Wow.
horrible. So when that happened, like, I'm in shock, I'm in grief, I'm like going through all of these motions, and I'm like, yo, I just lost my sibling. Because Mapache and I were
Mm.
really close. We talk about anything and everything, like from their school studies, because they were barely like 18 when it happened, 18, 19, very young, just barely like
Oh yeah.
out of high school, about to graduate. And
Right.
we talk about everything. And so it's just like I lost my sibling, I lost a part of myself. And so I'd been coming around the brown berets for a while. So I joined because I was like, this is all I have left of my siblings.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
And from there it was probably the probably a lot of like the best and worst times simultaneously.
Right.
Uh in the 2 years that I almost 2 years that I served as a brown beret.
That's such a, it's one of those stories that it continues to happen, right? And for someone so young, for society to be like, no, you don't have a voice. Like, where does that leave you mentally too? Like, these things are wrong. That you should speak out if you can. And then to take your entire life and, like you said, sending him back to a country he didn't grow up in, with people he doesn't really know, that really messes up with your psyche, like your everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely starting over. And how long ago was that? Has that been a long time ago?
Mm-hmm. Several years. Let's see. Like 2020 is when they did the lockdowns, right?
Right. Yeah.
Um, so that would have been my second year, the year before that. So about 2018, I want to say, if memory serves correctly.
Okay.
Occupy Ice, or yeah, you can
Wow.
look up Occupy Ice is what it was called in San
Yeah.
Antonio, and you can look up um Occupy Ice and type in Mapache right next to it, and you can see some of their story, get a better grasp.
Wow. And do you still talk to them, or just
Yeah,
lost
I call
connection?
them up.
Oh, you
Oh
do?
no, I still talk
Okay.
to them. Not as
Hmm.
frequently as I would like, but like the
Right.
connections are different. Because
Hmm.
like from Mexico to America, you have to use like different services. Um, we have here in America like Cash App and like um other Venmos and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
apparently, when they got deported, like and all that happened, like having feds up our butt and stuff like that, like their stuff got shut down, their Venmo, their Cash App, their everything. And I was just like, well, Cash App is what I use primarily. So let me try to figure out how to use PayPal so I could, send you something. And,
Right.
community did come through and send Mapache some support things. I'm not sure if that's still ongoing, but I remember even as a beret, like, every once in a while somebody would be like, hey, what's wrong? Because I'd just be like really upset. And I'm like, I miss my sibling. Like, I miss Mapache. Like, and they're like, do you still talk to them? And, one of the berets, this was our little secret. Um, one of the berets was like, hey, how much are you giving Mapache? And I was like, why? He goes, I'll match it. Right. So, like, if I scrounged up $50, then, the other member would like scrounge up $50 and Mapache, we would send Mapache 100. Right. And
Hmm.
so we just told him it was from all of us because, somebody still had to carry the torch. Somebody still has to tell the story. Somebody still has to keep fighting on the front lines. And it's not,
Right.
like you said, it's not just a
Hmm.
unique story just to that one. The government made an
Hmm.
example of Mapache in
Exactly.
like in that political climate with Trump and everything. And I think it even happened to a famous rapper recently, like shortly after. I think they were from Haiti or something. Like it happened to them too. And I was like, see, this is this happens a lot more than y'all think.
It does. It does. And it's, that one story, it repeats itself so many times, with families, with fathers, just they're just trying to make a living. Or in this case, just trying to freedom of speech. That's why that's like part of like this entire institution, that we call America. But of course, more obvious now that it depends, who is out there, right? And who gets that freedom of speech. Right now, with all the movement going on with the college campuses and the celebrities and just the political climate of everything, there's
Mhm.
just no question, that there's going to be young people wanting to fight back at this point. They're going to do it. There's just no question about it. And I would say, like, our generation, I believe we're both in the millennial, right? The millennials. Yes, I definitely would be out there. However, I also am aware of like societal norms and how you have to have a job to be able to afford food and have to have a job to be able to afford rent, or if you have a home, whatever it is. But you're talking to a generation who has nothing and sees nothing for themselves anymore at this point. They're seeing themselves like, I can never afford a home. I could
Mhm.
probably never, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. So why not? Right. But it's like we put them there. Like, even though they're putting it all the way back to like, Gen Z and the boomers and everything, which, yes, that definitely. But we also are part of it because we could have also done something, but we didn't know no better. Like, they're teaching us now, and it's just, it's it's insane. Like, everything I feel like that's going to take place as far as like changes within our government is going to come from the younger generation at this point. Yes, we're going to support them, you know, and all, but it's like they're the ones pushing the movement at this point. And I do hope that, they are doing very well in Mexico. And I'm so glad you guys are still, keep in touch with them. I think that's amazing. You know, it's it's empowering when you have people that are still looking out for you, even their countries away.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like,
Mhm.
um, like I said, it's not as frequent as I would like, but like time zones, like platforms, things like that. But you
Exactly.
know, every once in a while, like I'll shoot over like onto Instagram, reach out, like, hey,
Hmm.
good, I miss you, like, big sissy miss you. And they're like, you got
Yeah,
time?
yeah.
I'm like, oh, I always got time for you. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, and so like we'll just catch up. And at first, when that had initially happened, they had fell into an incredibly deep depression. So I spent a lot of time like putting aside my grief and holding space for them and listening to them, and hearing their guilt, where they were just like, sis, you were right, you felt it, I should have listened. And I'm like, no, dude, like, what were we gonna do? What were we gonna do in that?
Mhm.
Like either say no and be scared, which is valid, right? We have to protect our most vulnerable populations. And for me, like, I felt like that's what I was trying to do. And Mapache felt that calling in their spirit, like, no, I need to stand up and speak out. And they did, and they honored that spirit within them. But also, like, because of these evil
Mhm.
powers, this government, with Trump and stuff like that, they just made an example out of a young kid.
You did.
And so they fell into this deep depression for a minute. And I would check up on them, check up on
Mhm.
them. A couple other berets would reach out and check up on them, and we'd send support. And then eventually, like, Mapache had gotten into school. And apparently, in Mexico, you go to school year round, no breaks. I didn't know that.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
know that either. Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm.
And so, like, they're doing a lot better now. They're in a lot better space, and doing activism over there and trying to do food
Oh,
not
wow.
bombs. They're
Okay.
planning on, I think, either writing a book or making like a little documentary about their perspective of everything that happened.
I would love to have them on board if they are willing to speak on that. Definitely, we would love to share their story. I think it's incredible that they knew the risk that they were running, and yet that did not shut them down. Like, that is
Mm-hmm.
incredible. That's a reckon. That's really a force to be reckoned with. Someone,
Yeah.
for them to know, I am risking my livelihood here, but I believe in this. That's empowering for sure.
Yeah. Like, as much as the heartache that we went through and everything like that, I am still very proud of them for honoring that
Yeah.
spirit.
And to be young, to be that young and have that mindset already, which it's not very common, I feel, nowadays. But again,
Mm-hmm.
I think the younger, individuals of today, they have so much going on. You know, I have so much pressure going on that it's hard to actually think about anything outside of that. So many of them had to graduate through COVID. Like they never had a classroom even. Some of them have gone their high school years virtual. Like they lack that almost connection to people. And I see that a lot. Like I will interact with younger individuals, 18, 19, up to maybe like 21 or so. And there's a lack of like communication where some of them might not even like look at you when they're speaking. Like they're just like
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, and it's really interesting to see that because it's like, wow, you can't really blame them because they're doing the best they can, right? As we all are, everyone's doing the best they can. But to see that and understand it's because they have lived their lives through a screen. There's like a detachment of some sort. So when I started seeing these protesters, and especially in these very prestigious colleges, I was like, wow, my entire like being was like super excited to be like, wow, there's a different kind of that, you know, out there. You know, I was even like inspired to like start looking into everything. It's because of those videos that I started, you know, researching more and more what was going on. And then it went from what's happening in Palestine to what's happening in Congo to what's happening in like so many other areas, like Mexico included. They just elected their first woman president, but the amount of deaths that happened before that elected official makes you think like, oh, you know, how, you know, so it really like it starts off that movement in your head like I need to know more. That sounds good. Wow, they got the first woman president, but everything else also matters, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, like, they're inspiring. Like that's what it is. They're inspiring, and it's amazing. Like I can't wait. I know it's going to be a very hard, I would say, few months, especially after elections. But I can't wait to see, you know, what is it that's going to change because of them. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I think Apache is definitely one of those stories. They knew the risk, they didn't care. It was more important. And that's
Yeah.
something I feel that we can all learn from, honestly. Like sometimes we close ourselves because it's safe, it feels safer. But then we also eat ourselves up because we knew we could have made a difference and we didn't, right? We didn't speak out. And most of the time, I feel like it's different when I don't speak out for myself versus when I don't speak out for a cause that I could have said something about, right? Like that, I feel like that one needs you up a little bit more. Not giving a voice to someone that maybe doesn't have it or can't, you know? I'm like, that one I feel eats me up a little bit more. But Ayoka, anything else you would like to share with us today?
I think in terms of like what activism is and what it isn't, I think that we all think the standard of activism is going out and protesting and being in the streets or whatever, like, you know, the rebel rousing. But it's
Mm-hmm,
so much more than that. Like it's sharing information, there's sharing stories, building community within your own neighborhood or within your own families. It's, you know, building these connections. And like for me, like I'm like I started grassroots. I'll always be a sucker for grassroots, and like because that's where I started. But like even something as simple as sharing like information and resources online is a form of activism. Even speaking up online, using your voice, your platform, that's a form of activism. It doesn't always have to mean like going out in the streets protesting, you know, doing the level of stuff that like I did as a brown beret. Like it could just be as simple as doing a meal share or like checking on your neighbors, especially like elderly people in like weather like this. Especially in weather like this or you know any other extreme weather. It's decolonizing, especially if you're Black and Indigenous or you know any other POC, um, like decolonizing from these structures of colonialism. Like we weren't made to be raised in such strict or harsh environments. Like we had teachings for a reason, right? And even with like my nephew that I have custody of, like um I grew up with corporal punishment, right? You know,
mm-hmm.
getting hit, stuff like that. Uh, my younger brothers and I, like, we don't do that with our kids. Like, we're just like, no, like we redirect, you know, we explain, we do these things, and you know, that in itself is a form of activism as well.
Right.
But reaching out to like, you know, those old ancestral practices, they're there for a reason. They're still alive for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, almost like changing. And I've always said this, like, I know they call them like almost like cycles, right? Right. So a lot of
Mhm.
people I've heard like to say, well, I am breaking those family cycles, right? I may be saying the term wrong, but I feel like it's not really breaking as much as taking your own course, knowing that it wasn't the right way to do it, and then just taking your own course, right, to do it differently. It's it's hard to do, I would say, especially when you have a big family and they're just so deep rooted into the ways that they are. And you can't change your minds, and it's a little bit hard, right? I definitely understand
Mhm.
that. But I do feel it's liberating when at least you can tell yourself that, hey, I know that it's not the right way to do things. I'm going to do them differently and move forward like that. That's going to make me
Mhm.
happier. Like, I feel like that's such an awakening on its own that we don't need to change anybody else's mind. Like, as long as like you are aware of that and you're trying to make a difference, like you said, little things, like that. I'm a big like I love to talk. That's why I have this podcast. I love hearing myself talk. But more than anything, something that I also shared in our last episode is when I'm out in the world, and even if I'm having a bad day, I don't like to share that out there because I don't know who else is also having a bad day. So I'm all about sharing smiles, sharing a good morning, good afternoon, or just simply doing something nice. And it's always, I feel, reciprocated too. The other day, I was out at Cracker Barrel with a friend, and my shoe happened to be untied. I didn't notice it, didn't pay attention. I probably would have fallen on my face. And someone was trying to get my attention, like so adamantly, to like your shoe's untied, your shoe's untied. And I was like, wow, that was like, thank you, you know? And so I feel like we put that energy and it comes back to us regardless, like anything good that we do.
Mhm.
Again, like our future generations with individuals like yourself and many others, that are trying to continue such a amazing, powerful movement, to change the past, to make it better. I have a lot of faith things are going to get, a lot better. It's going to take some time. It's not going to be easy, but I have a lot of faith. And I love, learning about these stories because then it makes me, again, research what I could do moving forward. Having a platform, I always say my podcast is a little thing, it's a little platform. But hey, we get some listens. So even if we get 5 or 10, that's someone that's listening and took the message and learned from it. And we're happy with that. We do
Yeah.
hope, yeah, exactly. It's like I'm like, moving into a bigger city, I'm very excited to continue, to meet people like yourself and just learn about their stories and what can we take from that. I feel like there's so many individuals who have lived through just so many different, difficulties, and they've overcome, and they're overcoming every day. Especially, it's like, again, people of color. Like, I feel like it's always going to be harder for us, to get
Mhm.
somewhere. Like some people, they're going to get there. For us, it's going to be like 2 times harder to get where that person's going to get.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I know we're gonna have to have a second episode here with you, and because there's so much more that I would love for you to share. Again, to our listeners, we're going to be sharing Ayoka's store, so you guys can check out many of her products that are on there. And did you want to talk a little bit more about the store and what else it offers?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I mentioned, we offer the limpias and stuff like that. For those of you who are far away, like we can make herbal remedies and soaps and stuff like that, and waters that we can send out and we'll send them with a list of instructions how to do them. A lot of people get scared and they're like, "Well, what if I don't know how to do it? I don't know the step." And we're like, "No, you'll get a step by step. Everything that's
Yeah.
custom tailored, like it's custom, like you'll have your instructions." Um, we're starting to integrate a lot of my herbal medicines and stuff like that. I just made an herbal smoke blend to help combat a lot of anxiety and stuff like that. Um, for people, I've used it on myself. I've used it as a tea. Like I was like, man, this is really good. Like I
Yeah.
did myself, pat myself on the back. Tested it out on a couple more people, and in my work where I was working with the houseless population, like I've noticed that even that same herbal blend, we used it on some folks who were struggling with substance misuse, especially with uppers, and it helped calm them down, and they were actually able to like slowly start to taper off. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow, these are these ancestral practices that, like, my elder taught me, like she shared her herbalist knowledge with me, and we were able to incorporate that. And I'm like, whoa, like, Mother Earth, she really does provide for us and stuff like that, and carrying these old indigenous teachings with me. And, I take it with me into my medicine practices. So we just, we offer a little bit of everything sort of, for folks that, like literally just message us, like ask us anything, tell us all your problems and we'll help you solve it. If it's a physical one, we'll get to work right on it. If it's a spiritual one, we'll go into divination, do everything we need to do to get people back on the right path. So that's all we
It's
offer.
amazing work. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing work. I'm like mind blown. And the reason I'm mind blown is because I have dwelled into, right, the work, I'm not practicing it myself because I'm not, obviously very well educated on it, but I do know that it takes a lot of energy and it takes someone very spiritually strong to be able to help people like that. So I am, oh my God, so ecstatic that I met you. I know we're going to have so many other conversations along our journey here. And like I said, I know the book when it's out and you write it, it's going to be amazing. Just a little bit that you've been telling me here, snips and about everything. But I know we reached our time for today, guys, and I wish we had a little bit more time here. And you're more than welcome to come back, of course, because I could talk for
I'm
hours.
excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited to come back.
exactly. And pretty soon we're gonna pretty much be closer, so it's gonna work out perfectly. I know, like
Mhm.
I'm telling you, just the necklace and the energy and just how everything happened. I know, like it was meant to be all the way from Mexico.
Can I talk
And
about that necklace for a second? Like,
yeah,
I saw that listing, right? And because it just popped up randomly, right? Like I was just like,
right.
whoa, like I don't
Yes.
get to see like anything from, my ancestral culture, like country, like come through like that on Marketplace. I was like, whoa, right? And then so when I reached out and messaged you, and then like when we get to talking, and I'm like, you're like, I'm in Kalina. I was like, I'm sitting there. I literally sat there and was like, how the fuck did this happen? I was like, this isn't by mistake. This was not a glitch. Like this was for me, I believe, divine, because how else?
How else? Exactly. How else? To me, it's like it's still giving me chills. I'm one of those people. Like it's still, I feel before, I say anything, I feel it, and it just connected me, to so many people. I had someone eventually from Marble Falls. His name Rojas, also indigenous, also very big. He plays the flutes. All over the world, and he came from Marble Falls to pick up the piece. Like he's the one that took it home. He looked at it, he made sure that it was, of his liking, and he asked me, was it used in rituals? Was it used? I'm like, nope, it has been up, way. I've never put it on. No one has ever worn it. And he came in and picked it up from Marble Falls, and I was like, wow. So that one piece, I tell you, Ahyoka, it has connected me to all these amazing people. And eventually we will have him on the show as well. He's very ecstatic. He has his music group, and like I said, he's actually asked me if when I go back to Mexico, so I will be going sometime this year, to bring him back possibly other pieces that he can use with his music group. And so it's something, yeah. It's just like it just opened all these things, and I was just like, I knew it. I knew this necklace was powerful because it fought with me. It did for some reason. It kind of fought with me in the beginning, and then I really thought I'm going to take it out of my bag through customs. I don't know why, they stopped and opened all my stuff for it, but it has that energy. So I'm glad I made it to, someone that will definitely appreciate it, knew the value behind it, of course. But that one piece, it's always going to be my favorite. It always is, but I definitely will let you know once I go to Mexico, bring other, beautiful obsidian pieces. Like they're just so gorgeous. Like they're just, oh man, magical stuff. The one thing that I would say though, when I go to Tulum, there's just so many vendors, right, around the pyramids. I wish they would push them a little bit further out because it does take from the, I would say, spiritual energy of, they're yelling, they're trying to like, trying to get you to buy stuff. And that's, I know they're trying to make a living, but I wish they would push them a little bit further away so that you can still buy, you can still, help them, but then you can also experience, those sacred lands a little bit, more calm, not trying to run through them because, someone's chasing you with something to buy. Like, that's my only complaint. Like, that's it. But otherwise, like, I can't wait to go back. And now that I know, a little bit more about my culture, feel more connected, it's been calling me. Like, just going back to Mexico altogether, like, it's been calling me. This time around, I do want to go to like Mexico City. Last time, was more, I would say, like Mayan, and while I'm moving out to like Aztec, I would say I'm excited. And man, I know we're going to share some stories, and it's going to be great.
Let me know when you go back, because I might put in order for some more copal, because I am almost out.
Yes, of course. Oh, I definitely will keep you guys updated on those trips for sure. Oh man. All right, Yoka. So if I don't stop, I'm going to continue this for another 2 hours. So let me go ahead and we're going to end it here. Thank you so much for being part of our episode today. We're definitely going to, get you back on here. To our listeners, we are going to try and be here every 2 weeks. If not, we will let you know. But this episode definitely is, like I said, I knew it the moment that I met Ahyoka on Facebook. Like, this is going to be a great connection, and I'm excited. If you all want to share stories like the ones that we shared today, of course, send me a private message. Let me know. Otherwise, thank you for listening. And you all can find us on all of our listening platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Audible, Amazon Podcasts, pretty much anywhere that you can listen for free, we're there. And if you can't find us, again, send us a message. We will find you a link. Again, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, guys.
Basta, Kumati.